Hi, my name is Fred LeFranc. I'm the founder of Results to Strategy. We're an advisory consulting company that works with restaurant companies, small and large, to help them navigate the challenges they face along their corporate life cycle. Of course, as we all know, what's happened in the recent weeks has been devastating to our industry, and we love this industry. I came out of it. I managed restaurant companies, but I started as a waiter. So I know what it's like to be on the front lines. And right now, we're suffering some devastating losses in volumes and, most importantly, a lot of jobs. We employ 50 million people, and the fear is that we'll lose 8 million of them. What I've been doing for the last few days is working with founders and CEOs and private equity groups to help them adjust to the new reality of possibly shutting down operations, pivoting to a takeout and delivery model, understanding what to do with landlords and financial institutions. And so what we've started to do is to do this video series, which this is the introduction to, and what will follow this is this week's topic that we think is relevant to the changing fluid situation that we're all experiencing. So rest assured that at all times we're available to support you. Everyone's locked down, just like you are, but at the same time, we're making our expertise available to help you get through this industry's challenge because we think that there's a bright future ahead, but it's going to be bumpy for quite a while. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you find this useful. Take care. Godspeed. Hi, my name is Fred LeFranc, and welcome to our new video series. We decided that as in support of our fellow brethren in the restaurant industry, that we would release a series of videos to help you try and figure out how to get through this crazy time. And so we decided to start off with one of the most pressing things. The government has asked us to shut down our restaurants, and many concepts that have never really done it before have reverted to some of the other sales channels, which is primarily delivery and takeout. There are 5 major channels. Earl's going to be able to talk about some of the subsets for it, but it's always been dine-in, takeout, drive-through, delivery, and catering. Well, some of those are being taken away from us right now. So what do we do? And so in a few minutes, we're going to try and go through a lot of topics and make these resources available to you. And we'll be available to you after this. We're not charging anyone to help you during this crisis, but we want to be of benefit to you. So right off the bat, what I want to do is start by talking to Earl. Earl Dadrick is the founder of Monkey Media Software. He sold it last year to ezCater. And so now he's spending his time as a philanthropist, helping people out of the industry and offering his sage advice. So I'm really happy that he joined us today. I also have Alex Berman with me. He's my technology partner who does a lot of restaurant technology. He's going to be spending a lot of time talking about the specific things you need to learn about doing delivering and pickup through the use of your POS system. And then last but not least, I have Becky Folk. He's our culinary partner and chef. We'll talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts regarding your menu creation, packaging, and things like that for this new world we're operating within. We recognize that at one point, delivery may have been 5 to 15% of your business, and now it may be 100% of your business. And that 15% does not pay the rent for the whole building. So we don't know what's going to happen, but in the meantime, for those of you who have the courage to stick it out and try and service your communities, this is where we're at. But let me start out with you, Earl. There's a lot of implications in terms of the operations and how do you shift that, labor staffing and the approach to this. So tell us what you know.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on today. You know, this is, as we know, it's unprecedented. So this is the first time in history as operators we've faced this type of dynamic. But to me, it's being consistent with the strategy of off-premise, which is channel management. And as we know, there's basically the direct consumer channel, there's the marketplace channel for takeout, and then of course catering. We know that catering right now is pretty much fallen off the planet.
It's gone. B2B is dead. No one's in the offices anymore.
Yeah, so this is a different dynamic that we're facing, which is everybody's focused on this takeout business. And so the question is, what are the things you need to do inside your organization to be able to, muscle through this change? And basically, what you can expect is the entire workflow and manufacturing fulfillment process has really got to be completely different.
Right.
And what always operators have run into on this takeout channel, when they've been trying to go to the marketplace business, they've been trying to do all their menus on the marketplaces. And the strategy really has been moving towards specialization. It has been towards limiting the experience and creating something for your brand that you can execute well for delivery, as well as being able to consolidate the manufacturing process to build some scale. Because we know that through the marketplaces, it's a lower margin-based business. So what we need to shoot for is we need to shoot for higher volume and lower margin, which is basically what we're focusing on here. So my recommendation to all operators at the moment, and I'm sure Becky will be able to talk more about this, is consolidate your menu. Offer a limited experience. in terms of what's available. Maybe your top 5 items, pick your most profitable items. Maybe you want to create some new items,
Right.
and you want to be able to take those out to your market.
And you want things that travel well, of course.
100%.
And
That's
you can test
basically.
it out. I talked to several operators over the last few days, and what they've done is they've begun to stage their business environment differently. Because when you're doing a lot of to-go orders, or primarily to-go orders, your dining room is not dead space. That may be a place that you can have drivers come in through the fire exits that you might have had toward the back of the restaurant. Guests that are doing pickup come in the front door, spaced apart by 6 feet of separation, because we're still trying to do the social distancing. Your back of the house in terms of packaging and laying it out to produce this product becomes a critical issue. So those are the kind of things you need to be thinking in terms of flow. What about staffing, Earl? What do you think? Can we reduce the workforce to really make it highly efficient in your experience?
Well, I think everybody's going to, was going through this experience. I mean, layoffs are inevitable. I don't think anybody's going to be able to avoid that. I think ultimately that one of the big things to think about is your labor is going to shift. And so I think ultimately it's the order entry process. Your phones are going to ring for takeout orders. Do you want to drive people digitally where possible? Alex can talk more about using tech on that, as well as marketplace partners. And then the next question really is going to be, your kitchen staff are still going to be doing what they do, but essentially, what do you want to do? Delivery is really the big decision, Fred, because ultimately, what I think a lot of people are trying to do is do delivery themselves. And I think it's difficult to ramp up, and it's difficult to train. And I think looking at outsourcing to delivery partners like Deliver That as an example, Postmates another example, DoorDash, has another example, where it's important to separate the concept of marketplaces versus delivery companies.
Right.
And you might want to think about outsourcing to really
scale. And of course, if you have servers who can no longer serve, there's a possibility that they can become the delivery driver. There's implications from an insurance standpoint and liability, stuff like there goes a cat walking by doing a delivery. But of course, these are the things to think about. Yeah, let's pivot over for a moment to you, Becky. As a chef, and I know you've worked in some great fast casual concepts. You work with Whole Foods as well, so you understand quality, and of course Whole Foods had an incredible food program for people to take food home or just sit down in their cafes. What's your view in terms of the menu orientation and the things to look out for in terms of converting your business from a beautiful presentation table side to now it's in a box?
So I think the very first thing is you really need to look at what your core offerings are, but then also what makes you special. So what are those 1 or 2 items that everybody wants to, basically drive over and come pick it up. The other thing is you got to keep it really simple and easy to produce. So if it's a lot of prep or things like that, then you're just going to really waste labor because you're not really sure exactly what you're selling, especially as you're trying to get this menu up and running. I also would recommend to look at family packs or something that a customer can come by in bulk, and then they might have it for a couple days. Things like a lasagna or a King Ranch or something like that, or enchiladas would all be great items that you could sell in bulk that, they might eat a little bit today, but the rest of it will be either put in the freezer for a couple days.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Let me comment on that, Becky, because I think you just triggered something. So there's a possibility of creating a menu that says, don't just buy food for this meal. Buy food for the rest of the week that you can store and hold. Stick it in your freezer and then defrost a couple of days later. That's a great way to get the check average up. It's almost like a mini catering. That family pack's a wonderful idea. Keep on going. You're on a roll.
Right. Soup is also another really good one for that, like quarts of soup and things like that. Those little extras that we'll add on, or a pint of guacamole or anything along those lines. Really, I think would be great. I would take pictures. If you can, when you look at trying to get things out on social media and things like that, pictures talk. And I realize that it's going to be in a to-go container, but what's the best? How can you make it look as the best that you can, but then also that it's something that's going to hold up, because there's nothing worse than like fried food right now is kind of harder. It's much harder to deliver, especially if you don't have the right containers. And if you're not a restaurant that does tremendous amount of delivering, you might not have the right containers in. Styrofoam containers is not going to package well.
Let me ask you this. The idea of a photography is a good idea. Would you show it plated on a regular plate, even though it's going to be delivered in a box so they can see what it could look like when you get it home? Or would you show it in the box? What would you do?
It would depend. I would do a little bit of both. I think the family pack is really showing them what they're getting. If you're going to do a family pack and you have something, so if you're going to create a meal, say the lasagna and salad or something like that, that you take a picture of the lasagna and salad exactly as they're getting. It's a foil pan lasagna, and you get the salad in this, and you get bread or whatever to go with that. Where if it was going to be a like, I don't know, a chicken piccata or something along those lines, I would present it as a little more gourmet into it on a plate, because I think that's a much better presentation to get a picture.
Good idea. Becky, have you heard anything about supply chain right now? What's happening in terms of people being able to get food into their restaurants? Are we okay?
From our suppliers, they're basically, as of right now, they're up for business. And sometimes you can get some deals on, they've got stuff that's going to be spoiling. And if you have the talent and you have the staff, you might be able to talk with your produce houses and or meat vendors and see what maybe they can help you with, because that price, they might be willing to work out some deals on some things because they'd rather sell something than lose it.
Good. That's some great points. Well, let's pivot over to technology. So, Alex, give us some pointers in terms of what to look for. Right now, restaurant technology is a big thing. It's going to continue to grow. And if there's any area that is the perfect confluence for delivery and takeout, it's technology.
Absolutely. And I think the thing to understand here is that speed is key, and that a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week, is a quote by Patton. And it's perfectly applicable to the situation today. I would say a couple of things to look at. The first is from a menu and online perspective, as you're putting this stuff out there, make sure your people know what they're getting. So your standard websites that are out there today, make sure they're updated with the information of what you're actually serving today and tomorrow. The first thing I would say to do is actually talk to your technology vendors and see what is available out of the box the way things are right now. They're busy, but they are looking to help. Every vendor that I've talked to is looking to help their clients today. And so an example, a POS company offered their online platform for free. It's so easy to get set up. We can do it in about 2 hours. There are opportunities out there to do similar integrations with other partners that are, other POS partners that are out there. Technology is not going to solve the problem, but it's a conduit for you to make it. One thing to think about is as your dining rooms are less useful, as you maybe transition to doing more of this outsourced stuff, is putting your points of purchase closer to the customers. If you're a full service restaurant, think about where your terminals are located now. You can go and order online right now 100-foot Cat5 cables that can move your terminals closer to your doors where you might be actually distributing the food. There's a lot of just making it as easy as possible to both collect payment as well as on the front end to order that product online.
So, Alex, which of the POS systems already sort of have a built-in online ordering? I know Toast has something like that. Does ParBrink have something along those lines?
Toast has a built-in system. ParBrink has systems, but no, not as easy to implement in the same way.
They can be converted to that quickly.
Exactly. There's third-party add-ins and ways to get many things integrated very quickly into all of the POS systems. Very quickly is a question at this point, though, of days and hours, not necessarily the weeks that you would normally have to do an implementation. If there's specific questions, obviously we can help answer those for specific case studies. But I think the thing to keep in mind is, number one, talk to your vendor today. They will have those options available for you. Number two, implementing them is sometimes easier. Don't think about it being very complex. Think about it as, I have these 5 items that I'm offering, as Earl talked about, the top 5 perhaps. Put those on the website, highlight it up front. We can set up things as simple as online forms very quickly that can then feed into a tablet that you do. Think about recognizing revenue separate from the transaction if you need to, right? You're taking payment at the point of purchase, that's great, but think about online forms, online survey tools that you might have out there that can also collect those orders, push them through. You can take those orders and then ring them in later. Right. It's time to think outside the box. It's time to recognize revenue however we can.
Well, I saw a release from One Dine, our friends that also our sister company, Marketing Vital, and they're making their tablet that takes the order available for people to do it. They call it the Sonic-like experience. They get in the parking lot. They can meet the guest at their car and place the order if they're driving in, which is great. So there's other things like that. And we are not promoting specific companies for
Right.
any reason other than they are offering to help the industry at large. Alex talked about thinking outside of the box. In fact, I saw a release that in New York City, they are now letting restaurants do delivery and takeout with liquor. Now, these are not individual cocktails, okay? So it's not a Corona Martini. It's a bottle of vodka. This is bottle service. So the other things to think about, you got to check your own state laws, is, as Alex said, I thought, well, maybe we can sell cases of water, you know, that you can get from your distributors and make it part of your offering because people can't go to the store, especially the elderly people. So there's things along those lines. And if you could find, you know, any kind of Purell products, you'll be a hero. So you're not going to, or alcohol, that, you know, rubbing alcohol, not drinking alcohol. But
There was a barbecue place that offered a free roll of toilet paper with every order yesterday.
There you go. So that'll get it going. So let's pivot over in terms of, okay, we made this transformation. It's fast and furious. It's a little bit ugly, but we're still in business. We've still got our piece on the board. So now we got to promote it, right? And right now, the social media statistics are is that people are absorbing media like never before, but it's 7x coronavirus over the election, much less I have food for sale. So what's the message? So Earl, I'm going to pivot to you because you've always been a great hawker in terms of promoting different things. So what's the message that people need to get to cut through the noise here?
Yeah, good question, Fred. And I think everyone needs to be very careful with this because I think what I'm seeing out there is anybody who's in the market that is selling hard right now, it's backfiring, it's not working, it's off-putting. Everybody's in this together. There's nothing anybody has done here that's wrong or that there's no blame. It's just we're all in this together, Fred. It's bottom line. And so
this is humanity.
Your message needs to be community driven. This is absolutely critical. You're a community member, your customers in the community, everybody is hurting, and you need to be transparent about that. And so I think ultimately what we need to do as operators is we just need to step up. We've always done that as an industry. We've always been feeding first responders. We need leadership here. This is the time now to step up as community members and for us to be able to say, look, we are here for you. We know access is difficult. We know finances are difficult. People are getting laid off. There's a lot of challenges here. And we need to be able to step up in our communities, and we're offering services. And these services are available to make your life a little more convenient, a little easier. We want to do our part. You can do what you want and how you want to charge and all that stuff. But ultimately, we need to be community members who are adding value into our communities right now. And that's the message.
Yeah, because we know people are going stir crazy in their homes. And if they got kids, it's even worse. They're bored to tears. So the channels then, clearly social media channels, Instagram's the place to engage people. Facebook's the place to continue to do business with. Email, most of you have email clubs of some sort, loyalty programs. Use every single channel possible as frequently as you think is reasonable without, banging someone over the head so they get the information. And to Becky's point, if you're taking photography, things like that, that's the way to do it. And if you are offering alternative products other than just basic your menu, like cases of water, put that front and center. The other thing is, like Earl prompted me when he said, think about the community first, is offer people to say, if you know a neighbor who might benefit from what we have to offer, an elderly couple that can't get out of their home, this might be an opportunity for you to gift them a meal. That would be something to do.
And Freddie, here's something really out of the box. I haven't seen it yet, but it'll be interesting to see if somebody does it. But and talk about communities. So, as a restaurant brand and food manufacturers, we really have the ability to do anything at this point. And imagine being able to go into our communities, for example, to retirement homes, old age homes. Right. These are the people who are really vulnerable and at risk here. And we can offer programs for them, which is there's nothing wrong and Becky can speak more to this, to develop a menu that is specific for those communities to help nurture their health. And it doesn't have to be anything you have on your menu today. Right. It's just geared towards the more vulnerable people who can't get this stuff. So go into your old age home, ask them to send it to their people and their community. And that's, I think, how we're going to get some of this food out there.
Some great ideas. So I think in our closing section, sort of like what's next, everyone's asking, what do you think is going to happen? The answer is no one really knows. But you can study what is happening and what has happened. And I've gone down the rabbit hole. I just got off a call today with people in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, and India, and asking them what's happening in your part of the world. And if you follow what they've done, and we've seen what's going on, we know it came out of China originally, right? But we saw that South Korea has been able to flatten the curve, which is what we're hoping to do. And they did that not by clamping down on people not traveling, they did it by testing. Unfortunately, we are way behind on testing, and that's a real problem that we have to face with. But if you look at what happened in Italy, Italy got caught in a hotbed of infection. And if you look at the statistics, they just skyrocketed up like this. And that's why they're overwhelmed. Their medical system's overwhelmed. They started by locking down northern Italy. Within 2 days, they locked down the entire country because the rate of infection was overwhelming to them. And they're still in that trouble right now. They don't have enough hospital beds or respirators, and they're having to triage who gets oxygen and who doesn't. And that's really sad because they have 23% of the population is over 70. So they're losing a lot of their senior citizens. France and Spain have locked down similar to Italy and are now prohibiting any restaurant from being open, any business from being open, except drugstores and grocery stores. They are not doing delivery, they're not doing takeout. The closest thing we have is San Francisco right now, which has definitely embodied that whole thing of you're gonna stay where you're at, but they are allowing restaurants to do delivery. You can't do pickup, but you can do delivery. So that's still possible. So there's a possibility that this is gonna spread into the rest of the United States. There is no federal guidelines along the line. It's being done state by state by state, but that's what's occurring. And that's sort of the current state of it. So watching the rate of infection, trying to flatten the curve, and be mindful and thoughtful about washing your hands and all the things that we've heard ad nauseum. Now, what's in the future? Here's the challenge. This is called a novel coronavirus. A novel one is because it's a new one. There are 6 known coronaviruses. That's what creates the common colds and influenza every single year. And every year, the CDC and the medical companies get together, figure out what strains come up this year, and they make a vaccine for it. A couple of times it's happened, they sort of missed it. You get some help, but it's not as effective as the one that's directly, let's say, strain number 3. I don't know what they call them. Let's just assume that. This one has no known vaccine. It takes 18 months to get a vaccine. Now, there's a lot of talk, and that's great that we're already testing it with live patients and so far and so on. But to get a vaccine that's going to scale up to cover the globe is going to take 18 to 24 months. And so as the summer season comes in, typically flu drops off, which is great news in the northern hemisphere. However, keep in mind, we're a round planet. The southern hemisphere is going to go into winter. They are not going to get infected. So we're talking about South America, Africa, and Australia. And if you want to see something desperate, the ratio of hospital beds to population in Africa is the lowest in the globe, okay? So that pandemic could be devastating there. Come next fall, it starts cooling down in the northern hemisphere, it's gonna come back. And we need to be prepared for that. And I'm not saying that to be Debbie Downer. I'm just saying we need to keep our eyes open and really be clear what's going on here. And so we're gonna transform the way we live for a long time. There's a permanent sea change. We don't know how it's gonna end up, but we do know that for the next 18 to 24 months, the world as we once knew will no longer be the same. And this is going to make a big event like 9/11 seem small by comparison. Stay informed. Check the CDC website. There's a lot of things going on all the time. The White House is having daily press briefings. And anything you can do to help contribute, as Earl said so aptly, to your community to make sure that our citizens, our fellow man are kept safe is the most important thing we possibly do. And I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. And we look forward to spending time with you in the near future for our next part of our video series. Take care. Have a great day and stay safe. God bless.